welcome to Clown World Episode 3. I'm back with Francis Foster.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Good to have you back.
It's good to be back, mate. Pretty much the only podcast that will fucking have me. The only comedy podcast that will have me. So it's delighted to be here. Being cancelled by the globalist leftist shills.
Well,
so,
that sounds very problematic and anti-Semitic and all the rest of it.
Of course,
You're not allowed to say globalist anymore.
No, I know.
Talking of things being racist, so this week we're going to be talking about what's racist this week, and obviously there's the royal race row with the Palace Furore, an 83-year-old lady in waiting to the Queen or King or whatever it is, had to stand down after asking somebody dressed like Coming to America where they're from. We're also going to cover Nazi drag queens. That's obviously going to be a regular thing until people get hold of their senses and stop putting Nazi drag queens in front of kids. We've got Canadian euthanasia, which sort of sounds like a good idea to me, but apparently it's bad. Apparently we should be keeping Canadian people alive. The Twitter takeover, we've got the census results and immigration, which are slowly trickling out. We've got women using makeup to look radically better and different. We've got Scottish independence wankers, and we've got Chinese COVID riots.
It's all good news, mate. I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be a really fucking uplifting podcast. Let's talk about some poor Chinese people getting their faces smashed in because they live under a autocratic regime.
Yeah. Well, it's their turn. We had it a couple of years ago. But yeah, kicking off. I mean, I've already done a video about Ngozi Fulani, who turned up to the palace. Apparently, she wasn't actually invited. She tagged along with another charity. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Really? So it's like a house party when you were like 16. You went with your mate just to get in. I kind of respect that. Good on her.
Yeah, me too.
That's the first thing I respect about her. Well, that and helping abused women. That's kind of worthy of supporters of admiration. But
when he said that, he said helping abused women, not helping abuse women. She's not a Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, as far as we know.
Yeah. Which I think Netflix missed a trick not calling that documentary about Ghislaine Life in the Jizz Lane. Because that's basically what she was. It was the Jetstream Jizz Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I love about Ghislaine Maxwell, right? I mean, that's a pretty problematic statement, but nobody, this is something for feminists to get pissed off about. Why is it only the woman who gets fucking blamed? Everybody else who actually did the raping, no. We can't bring them to power.
All these men who are at the island, and it's like pretty much everyone who's at Davos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, like everybody.
Stephen Hawkins was there.
Stephen Hawkins?
Yeah, Stephen Hawkins.
Oh my God.
Take off your knickers.
yeah. So he got a hand job off. Darius had a funny joke about Stephen Hawkins. He said Stephen Hawkins cheated on his wife, and he says that's the ultimate power play. He's got the best game of anybody who's ever cheated, because for him to cheat on his wife actually had to pick him up and carry him over to the other bed.
No, he used to go to strip clubs a lot, particularly Stringfellows. I remember at a party I met this stripper and she was talking about it, and I was like, well, what was he like? Gentleman, apparently.
Right,
really nice guy.
Yeah.
Just used to go there and just like watching birds take their tops off.
Just enjoy it.
Enjoy it, mate.
Part of God's creation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he seemed like a great guy. I always felt bad for him when he left his wife.
Yeah.
Who'd obviously cared for him all those years and stuff. And then shacked up with this nurse, and then she immediately left him out in the rain.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, because obviously he was getting hand jobs and stuff off her when he was with his wife or whatever. But then she immediately started abusing. It's that sort of power play.
Power play.
Just a shame. I think she thought he'd malfunction if he got left out in the rain. She didn't realise he's like a human.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this has taken a fucking detour, mate. We were
what were we talking about?
I have no idea what we're talking about.
We were talking about Ngozi.
Ngozi, and then we segued into Stephen Hawking receiving hand jobs.
Right. But so she turned up to the palace, and a lady in waiting, Susan Hussey.
Yeah, great name. I mean, look, we're talking about strippers or porn stars. That's a great name.
She should have been helping Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly.
With a Ghislaine and a Hussey.
Yeah.
That's man, that's who you need on each side if you're going to be enticing young women. But so Ngozi Fulani turns up to palace, and she's got like an African sounding name.
Yeah.
Ngozi Fulani.
African earrings.
African earrings.
Yep.
Although her name, apparently her original name was Marlene Headley.
Yeah. Stop dead naming her, please.
But now she identifies
Yeah.
as African, but only for certain conversations.
Exactly. But that's it, because now nationality and heritage is fluid.
Yeah.
So you need to learn that.
If you're her, not if you're me.
No.
I can go about calling myself like Umbutsu Mtana or something, and
Here's a question.
Run about.
You obviously wouldn't get away with that if you trans race. But what if you trans race and gender?
What the double checkmate sort of like, they can't get me. Like if they say anything, they're being transphobic because I'm like a woman.
Look, what would happen if you turned up to headliners as Ngozo Kearse? Just sat there with
with like a big lion tooth necklace.
Yeah.
And like my penis tied around my waist with a bit of string, a bit of twine from the
Exactly.
Yeah.
And talk like this.
I think I'd be in a lot of trouble.
Mate.
I might already be in trouble now. It's hard to tell. But yeah, this Ngozi Fulani, man, she turned up. She was like literally dressed like. I described it as coming to America, but it really was. I mean, like the only way, and it sort of looked like a sort of like a 50s interpretation of what an African woman would look like.
Yeah.
It was very sort of cliche. She had the hair. She didn't have any fruit in her head.
No.
And she didn't have any like bones or big thing in her lip or anything. But apart from that, she went the whole hog, leopard print, everything. It was like it was like somebody in the 1980s going to a fancy dress party.
Exactly.
And
which is why it should be celebrated.
Yeah. And like, so obviously she's sort of on a website. She's very proud of her sort of African and Caribbean heritage and all the rest of it, which is great. You know what I mean? That's wonderful. But then she got asked, no, the job of a lady in waiting is to find out something interesting about the person, so then they can be referred to when they're introduced or whatever.
Yeah.
They can say, this is blah, 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 she's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So she was asking, where are you from? And she was a bit persistent.
Yeah.
She was like, where are you from? No, where are you really from?
Yeah.
And then she was like slapping her about the face.
Yeah.
Like, no, listen, you fucking
bitch. then a couple of epithets would drop, the M-bomb.
Yeah, and she was like, you got to call it Rhodesia. You got to call it. But no, she was a bit persistent. It was kind of awkward, and I can understand if you're black and in the UK, man, it would, especially if you're like UK born, it's gonna do your nutting. Like, because I get asked, not obviously like I'm not a victim of racism or whatever, but I get asked, where I'm because of my accent, and it's always a boring conversation. It's tedious, it's never that interesting. But she had gone out of her way to sort of dress up as this, so you would be thinking, oh man, like what what ancestry is this from?
Yeah.
Like you're sort of invited. It's like I feel like it's entrapment. It's like a woman wearing a really low cut top, and they'd be like, "Why are you looking at my tits? This is a hate crime." You know what I mean?
You did get cleared of all charges, mate. So, so it's fine. You don't. We can move on from that. But look, I agree with you. If you go there in that kind of outfit, and if you go there and you want to embrace your culture and you want to display your culture, great. But then you can't get upset if people go, "What's this about?" Now, look, the other part of it is she was a bit indiscreet. She was a bit persistent. She's 83 years old, for fuck's sake. Old people say and do annoying things. Yeah. They just are.
I'm amazed she wasn't more racist, to be honest.
Exactly.
I thought this was a rare example of a particularly non-racist old person.
Yeah, exactly. I half expected the words bongo land to be dropped.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
A few years ago when Prince Philip was still alive, we would have had that.
Yeah. He is R.I.P. Philip, but that's absolutely true. So, and then the thing that baffled me is it became this huge fucking story.
Yeah,
and it's just like we need to eliminate racism, and the only way to do that is to drag an 83-year-old woman through the mud publicly, destroy her reputation. Plaster it all across the paper, drive her to a nervous breakdown, because that's how we achieve equality.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no sort of sense of parity, or is this right, or is this something we can maybe sit down with her and say, like, listen, even if somebody turns up, looking like this, carrying a big shield with feathers on it, you still can't ask. You've got to pretend it's not there. You've got to pretend they're just wearing a Guess T-shirt and act like that. I just felt. And there was just an assumption. The mainstream narrative was like, "Oh, this is definitely racism. This is an example of racism."
It's not just racism; it's institutional racism.
Yeah,
I'm like, how is this institutional racism?
Yeah, somebody asking where you're from.
Yeah.
And you're like obviously not wearing traditional, if she dressed like a Morris dancer or something,
Yeah.
it would have been like, why are you asking her where she's from? But she was dressed like that. And the like having it as like saying it's this example of egregious racism then sort of feeds into this narrative. A lot of white Brits will be like, well, what can I do if this, if I've got to watch out for anything that anybody says or does, and I've got to be so careful and tiptoe around, like I'm going to get caught out eventually, and that's going to make them like not want ethnic minority people. They're not going to be as welcoming to ethnic minority people.
And it's also, look, as well, like, majority of people...
And when I say ethnic minority people, I don't mean white British.
Because that's what we fucking are now, mate. It's a fucking disgrace. We're getting replaced. Great replacement.
Well, you're Hispanic, so you're you're replacing me, man.
Yeah, trust me, not with my record with the ladies, mate. I'm replacing no one. But yeah, I agree. It's what it's doing is putting barriers, and so people feel even more tentative, even more like they're unable to express themselves just around ordinary people.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Someone was a little bit, shall we say, insensitive. Someone was a little bit brusque.
Yeah.
And that is now described as abuse.
Yeah.
And
sustained prolonged racist abuse is how it was described.
And
which I'd consider if she'd repeatedly put burning dog shit through her letterbox or something. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? But this was nowhere near the sort of level of racism that that used to. It's not even racism. That's the trouble. It's not even racism.
No, and that's the thing. It's not racism. And what it does is there are people, unfortunately, still in this country who do suffer racist abuse. Who unfortunately,
white people.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Who have people say things to them, whatever else.
Yeah.
And all it just does is discredit them because those two things aren't the same. And for her to use the word abuse, I think is actually quite dangerous, considering she works with women who have been the victim of domestic violence who are genuinely abused.
Yeah. Oh, she works with them as long as they're from the right ethnic background.
Yeah.
So she runs a charity, Sister Space, that's received a pretty big chunk of Black Lives Matter funding.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure what it's been spent on. They haven't had accountants in to open the books. Might happen now. But there's a woman on Twitter replied to one of my tweets, and she was saying, like, listen, I approached this charity and I was rejected because I'm mixed race.
Yeah.
So they said I'm not, and it's like, I don't know, mixed race, in my experience, mixed race women get a lot of abuse because they get it from both sides.
Yeah, because I had to.
So yeah, they've rejected somebody, based on their race. To me, rejecting somebody based on their skin color, based on their ethnic background, that's a bit racist.
Of course it is. Like, like a white woman will turn up at that charity, right? Yeah. So I don't care, Margaret. Fuck off with your two black eyes.
yeah. She'll be like, at least my eyes are black.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Unless you have suffered through systemic and racial oppression. I don't care if you've been trapped in an abusive marriage for 25 years and you're running for your life. This isn't the space for you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. So hopefully that is all going to get resolved. And I was disappointed with the Royals, with Prince William sort of immediately throwing her under the bus and he's like, he's like, oh, I don't want to look racist, I better fire her. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, sometimes there's a time to just show some balls and stand up.
But then, like, here's the thing, like, I'm trying to do this thing, right, where I put myself in other people's position more and more, and I'm like going, right, why? I kind of get why William did it. If you come from a family where your sister-in-law basically said that it's structurally racist because they asked what colour the baby was going to be.
Yeah, which any family, like black people, yeah.
Of course, that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens. You have that discussion.
Yeah, we've had it about hair colour, about everything. Obviously not,
Well, I mean, your baby's black, mate, so you need to... I would ask a few questions, that's all I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
But even us, we've had, because I'm darker skinned, I'm a bit... I've got, like, a bit of ethnicity in me. Whereas my wife is, like, freckly and all, very, very... she's very Scottish skinned, or Irish skinned. So... We've been talking, all the families have been talking not just about eye colour, hair colour, all that sort of stuff, but also about, skin colour. But because we're both white, it's not racist. And I think it's not racist if you're not white as well. It's just something that people talk about.
But amongst, like, if you go to, like, Venezuela or different countries where there is a lot of mixing with ethnicities and races and cultures, that is a topic of conversation. What's really interesting when you go to Venezuela is like you'll see a family, like the son looks like me, the daughter's really much darker, so she looks typically Latin American.
Yeah.
The other kid looks a bit more mixed. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
So to have that conversation blows my mind.
Yeah.
That you might come out looking a little bit more like Granddad.
Yeah.
What is the problem with that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got Granddad's eyes. He's got Granddad's nose. You can't say that. Do you know what I mean? It's insane. Yeah. It's insane, and it permeates everything. Like there's this fashion amongst stand-up comedians. I don't know if you've seen this joke. Where one of the comedians come out and they do this joke, right? Where they go, having a baby. Really hope it's not going to be a straight white male because we've had enough of them. Good, fuck a black person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like the obsession around race is mental.
And self-flagellation. And it's like this way that woke white British people, just whip themselves and say, oh my God, oh no, white people are so terrible. It's in a way they're elevating themselves because they're saying we're so powerful, we can do this. It's a real luxury thing to do. Whereas I think, looking at other segments of the white population, obviously where I'm from, there's a lot of very poor, there's a lot of deprivation. It's like not all the white people there are having this amazing gilded, privileged time. The victims of grooming gangs, they're not, but people will still argue with a straight face that those victims of grooming gangs are privileged. Well, not the Sikh ones, but the white ones are privileged because if they were black, they'd be having a better time as a victim of a grooming gang. If they're black, they'd be having a worse time as a victim of a grooming gang. And it just blows my mind because also those girls were targeted for reasons of ethnicity. It was a race. And sectarian motivated hate crime as well as a sex crime as well. But
I think when we interviewed on Triggernometry, Dr. Ella Hill, who was advisor to the government and herself a victim of grooming gangs, she put the number estimated because unfortunately we don't know because there's a lot of people who went through these grooming gangs and horrifically abused and raped and for completely understandable reasons, too traumatised to go to the police. They estimate 500,000 girls.
Yeah, it's mad. And there's also a lot who still not see themselves as victims. They'll be like, I had this boyfriend. Or I had this boyfriend and stuff. Because a lot of the girls they didn't realise they were being groomed and stuff.
Yeah.
This is where Jeffrey Epstein missed a trick.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and Prince Andrew. They
should have gone to Bradford. And I'm the kebab shop.
Never mind the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Move to Bradford, open up a kebab shop and go from there, Jeffrey.
Right. Talking of the Midlands, actually Bradford's up north. This is this is the segue.
Yeah.
Talking of the Midlands, me and Francis are doing shows in Leicester and Stafford on the 20th and 21st of December. When's the Leicester one? Is that the 20th?
Yeah, 20th in Leicester, 21st in Stafford. Leo is headlining the first half, so make sure to get
in the first half. Are you sure you want to follow me?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I do, to prepare the room. He doesn't mean it, right? Let's all just calm down. We don't have to do our complaints yet. Let's just have a think about it before we get upset.
So we're gonna do some. It's gonna be fun Christmas shows. It's gonna be funny, and also I'm gonna be trying out some. Not trying out, but I'm gonna be doing some newer stuff that I probably won't be able to get away with in normal clubs. So if you want to see that stuff and also see some classic, not classic. I'm talking like I'm fucking Elton John.
Yeah.
If you want to see some stuff that I've done before that's good. It's going to be a good show, is what I'm trying to say.
Look, Leo's very good at comedy. He's not very good at selling a show. Just fucking come to the gig, all right?
Come to the gig as well, because we don't do many live shows either. Because to be honest, it's like it's a total pain in the ass. You got to go to where the show is, then actually do the show. It's like there's so much admin and stuff involved as well. So we don't do many shows often. So if you want to see us live.
Where can you get tickets?
There's a link below, probably.
Yeah, there's a link below, exactly. So just come and see us there.
Yeah, or you can Google Leo Kearse, Francis Foster, live Leicester, live Stafford, and you'll get the tickets.
There we go. So we went from selling a show to Jeffrey Epstein in a kebab shop. Good.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that should have been. I'd love to imagine if that was his what he'd been sentenced with, like community service. You now have to make kebabs for taxi
the rest
driver.
of your life.
Yeah.
That's it, mate.
Yeah.
You've got to turn up. You've got to do a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
covered in kebab grease, dealing with drunks.
Yeah, and the grease would be a reminder of how
Yeah.
you used to be covered in grease during those massages.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And it was also a reflection of your filthy soul.
Yeah, right. Look at that. Ngozi Fulani being asked where she's from wasn't the only racist thing this week. So I've got this video of a woman who says classical composers are racist. So let's watch this.
If you're seeing this, you've reached Classical Music is Racist TikTok. The fact that classical music, which is really the music of 18th century Western European cis straight white male composers, is valued as the highest form of art music in America, is an example of white supremacy. Those who go to college to study music will spend countless hours studying music theory, Western music history, and more, and most schools only have one class requirement or no class requirements for world music. This means that educators are woefully unprepared to meet the standards of understanding global, interdisciplinary, and 21st century connections with music. Task forces like this one are arguing that the music major needs to be changed to be more all-encompassing and actively anti-racist. But in the meantime, those who are music educators have to struggle and wrestle with the question, how can I be actively anti-racist in teaching music in a system that values white supremacy? Follow me to find out.
No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, she does actually. The trouble with a lot of this woke stuff that you want to get outraged by is she's got a point.
Yes, she does.
She's got a point.
Yeah.
And like, there's great like Fela Kuti, for example, amazing multi-instrumentalist. Probably I made that up, but definitely like great musician. And you know, brilliant. I think he died of AIDS.
Right.
But an African dude. Not sure where he's from. Scared to ask.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could teach.
Might be from Hackney, mate.
They could teach that as well.
Yeah, they could. And look, that's the thing. You go like, well, you know, what are you going to teach kids? Because someone who used to teach, you've got a limited amount of time to teach the little fuckers.
Yeah.
So you've got a limited amount of time. So people go, why don't you teach this? Why don't you teach this?
Yeah.
How about you teach this? Well, first of all, you need to teach them to fucking read. You need to teach them to write properly. You need to teach them maths.
Yeah.
They're obesely fat, all of them. So you're going to need to teach
They
PE.
don't fit under the harpsichord.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you play the xylophone when your gut's hanging over it?
Yeah. It dampens the keys.
Exactly. So you've got to think like, well, what can you teach? And it's really easy to go, oh, teach this or teach that. But I remember in school, like we learned about gamelan. I think that's Filipino music. We learned about music, world music. We learned about reggae. We learned about lots of different things. So I don't understand where these comments come from, where they're going, it's like lots of people go, oh, you don't teach about slavery in schools. I taught a year 5 class about slavery. They were crying. I was like, toughen up.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure when I was at school, we learnt about, you know, some of the dodgy stuff that had been done by the Empire, and we learnt about certainly some of the evil. I mean, obviously I went to school in Scotland, so we learnt about the Covenanters, the Jacobite Rebellion, all this sort of stuff, Bonnie Prince Billy, or Charlie, whatever it's called. So then for people to say, yeah, this stuff isn't taught, it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. And what it is people not understanding the curriculum, not taking time to actually look into it, and then going, just spouting off an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and people go like, oh my word, like these people, they're not teaching it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you don't remember it because at little school you were a little fucking prick and you didn't listen.
Yeah.
So you're like, I didn't get taught it. And it's like, no, you little dickhead.
Yeah.
You were out of the classroom fucking about, whatever it is.
I can't believe people would spout off an opinion with a very brief understanding of a subject. I would never do that.
No, I would never do that.
I would never do that. Yeah. Anyway, the next thing, this is also racist. This is more something we can disagree with, I think.
Yeah.
A racist sign was found near Bellingham High School, and frustrated parents want to know what's happening inside the school. WBZ's Christina Hager's live in Bellingham tonight. Christina, the school says hate has no place on its campus.
Must be a pretty bad sign.
Yeah. Elisa, the superintendent sent out an email this week saying he's deeply saddened and that the school staff works hard to create an environment where all students can feel like they belong. But some parents here say more needs to be done. Stop white hate, said the sign near the entrance of Bellingham High School. Police say 2 residents removed it when they saw it Saturday. and brought it here to the police department, concerned about the tone.
I don't know what led to it. I don't know why they put it up there. I don't know if it was a parent that's upset because of the way things are going.
Since the spot is removed from the high school building, police say there are no security cameras where someone had propped the sign up along the main road.
There are hate crimes, right? And they have hate crime rules in the school, so enforce them.
It has some parents concerned. Tiara Bacchus's daughter told her about it after the superintendent sent this email calling it deplorable.
She kind of said it nonchalant, like it's okay. And we just kind of looked like, how is this okay? And how are you going to just send out an email and expect everything to be fine? It's heartbreaking.
She says it's not the first time her kids have experienced racial tension at school.
These boys had a rope and they kept on saying the N-word. And my daughter, she got up and she went to the guidance counselor.
Police say school resource officers never heard about that.
The nice part with having the SROs up there is we want the kids to go to them. They're visible. They're there all the time and they're visible. So if they had a concern or have a concern, by all means, they should go talk to them.
Well, one of those parents tells us she's so upset she's now considering moving her students to a different school. Police are telling us there is no danger to students or the general public. In Bellingham, Christina Hager, WBZ News.
Christina, thank you.
See, this just blows my mind because they're saying this is a racist, hateful sign. So I was expecting, it's going to be a swastika, it's going to be something horrible, it's going to have racist words like the N-word or something. And then it's a sign saying stop hate.
Yeah.
Like stop white hate. Which could be read two ways. It could either be like stop white people hating on stuff. Or it could be like, I think how it's meant is like stop hating white people.
Yeah.
Which, shouldn't we stop hating white people? There's a lot of anti-white hate. I mean, you only need to go to a comedy club to see people openly hating on white people for laughs, which is fine and stuff. But let's not pretend it doesn't happen. You open Twitter, let's not pretend. I've been called all sorts of stuff this week based on my ethnicity for daring to comment on the Nguzi Fulani thing. So hateful.
No, I mean, look, this is absolutely ridiculous. And like I said before, it just devalues the word racism.
Yeah.
Like if that story was true, like the second one that the lady was talking about her daughter, that's obviously awful.
Yeah.
That needs to be stamped out. Awful, awful, awful. Should never have happened. Right?
Yeah.
If it's true, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
But the first one, stop white hate, and I love the fact they're talking about it like it's almost like a school shooting. There's no danger to the public. What are you talking about? It's a fucking sign with 3 words, none of which is offensive.
Yeah.
And even if it was offensive, you take it down.
Even if it was offensive, there's still no danger to the public. It's not like it's going to burn you like a vampire getting burned by sunlight.
Exactly, like you're going to walk past it. And then the way that people are overreacting, and it's like they're going to pull the students out of the school.
Yeah. It's this. It's like safetyism is sort of taken over now because this like health and safety sort of rose, and obviously if you're working up a ladder or something like that, you're working on an oil rig, you need health and safety. You need to make sure that there's appropriate measures in place to make sure you don't die. But then when that's extended to words and speech that you're exposed to, so you've got to be kept safe from ideas and words and things. Man, that's so they've made it. Because obviously free speech, the limit of free speech is where it can harm other people. Yeah. And traditionally that's meant you can't run into a cinema and shout, oh, there's fire, and then people get trampled or whatever. That's bad, that's wrong. But now they're changing it so harmful can just be the words themselves. It can be an idea that that causes you anxiety, and that's harm. So that means it gives you a lever, gives you a tool to silence people. And also you got these people in schools, well, in every organisation, equality, diversity and inclusion, people to make sure that any incidents or whatever are dealt with properly. And they need their job. and they need to be doing something. So it's become this thing that generates instance. So, things that aren't racist, such as an old woman asking someone where they're from, or a sign that's put up saying, hey, when you stop white hate, that becomes something for them to deal with. So it's something that was intended as a shield to protect people from racism has become a sword to attack people.
I just find it worrying that everybody has just become so completely and utterly sensitive about tiny little issues that don't really matter.
Yeah.
They don't matter. Like, the average person would have walked past that sign and probably not even noticed it because they were on their phones.
Yeah.
Or because they got off doing their stuff and they had jobs and kids and lives to lead. Like,
yeah.
oh, that's a bit weird. Well, anyway.
Yeah, or they might have looked at it and be like, what? Stop white hate? But that's my favourite thing to do.
Exactly. Let's go on Twitter. But and so, I don't know. Like, I just worry about it because in the education system in this country, school buildings are literally falling apart.
Right.
Like, one of my friends, I bumped into her. She's a drama teacher, and she was teaching in her school, and 2 rats ran across the drama studio.
Oh my God.
Right, and the kids were, ah! Anyway, so she went to a lunch break to see like the deputy head and go, look, just to let you know, 2 rats ran across my drama studio.
Yeah.
And he went, I think you mean mice? And she went, no, I mean rats. They were that big. And he went, no, we can't have rats because then we have to shut the school down.
Yeah.
They were mice, and I'm going to report it. Thank you.
Right.
And you just go, let's talk about things that are actually important instead of like, anyway.
Yeah, if only it was gerbils. I'd send my kids to that school. Yeah, man, I think that public finances in this country are in a really perilous state at the moment because they've raised tax to like a ridiculous level, and everything seems to be failing. Everyone's on strike, from the Royal Mail to nurses to ambulance drivers to everyone.
No,
train drivers.
Yeah, train drivers. But there was also, I can't remember what it was. I read these people. It was a private company, a big private company, walking out on strike.
Yeah.
Everybody's on strike.
Yeah.
There is nobody at work.
Yeah. Apart from me, because I'm self-employed.
Yeah, the self-employed people still have to go because we don't get paid, but everybody else is on strike.
Yeah.
So you go, and we all know why that is. A large part of it is because of lockdown.
Yeah.
We paid for these lockdowns for 2 years. Everyone's like, oh, I'm just sat at home.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
getting
like,
free money. Now I've got to go back to work, pay more tax.
Yeah.
So I'm not even getting paid the same amount as I was before. And there's inflation. And I've got to do work. It's like, man, that sucks. And so many people have been signed off sick since the end of lockdown because people don't want to do work anymore.
They don't want to do work, and as well, like, there's a lot of people who were just on that cusp of early retirement, so a lot of them have retired because they thought, fuck it. And as a result, we've got a labour deficit. We're really screwed. I don't think people understand how this country is in a terrible state.
Yeah. And anybody who wants a sort of reasonably managed immigration policy, I'm sorry, but you're not going to get it because if Labour get in, obviously we're going to have high immigration because those people tend to vote Labour. It's a sort of ideological thing with Labour as well. It's we should be helping people, we should be having open borders and letting people in. Which, I mean, obviously it's nice to help people and it's nice to have open borders, but I think it's got to be sustainable, it's got to be manageable, and it shouldn't create too much social discord and stuff like that, which it already is. With the stuff, the tensions are really going to get high with things like the Ngozi Fulani thing, where you're not allowed to integrate, you're not allowed to just to have any sort of normal interaction. It's just being watched, and people are setting linguistic traps for you. So it's very difficult. That's going to make people not want high levels of immigration. But the Tories are going to want high levels of immigration. This is going to be the driver for immigration anyway, because the economy is doing shit right now. We don't have enough workers, and getting sort of unskilled migrants is like a way to boost the economy, but it's sort of like steroids. It gives you a short-term boost, but then long-term your liver fails. Simon Evans described it as throwing kindling on a fire. You're not building the infrastructure for increased long-term productivity. What we really need to be doing is incentivizing people to have kids. But kids take 18 years to go into the workforce.
Not with child labour, mate. Let's get them in. Let's fucking get them in. I'm
That's
telling
the solution.
You know, when I was a teacher, like we had like our 9, 10-year-olds. We had like some DT class. It was shit where they had to make slippers, right?
Right.
And one of these kids got me a slipper, and he was really proud of it. And I got my trainer out, and I was like, "This got made by someone your age, mate. Up your fucking game, son. This, I can't even walk down the road in them.
Yeah.
This, look at this, mate.
Yeah.
120 quid. Didn't begrudge it. I wouldn't pay 20p.
Yeah. You could run in the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
In this thing made by a Chinese kid.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know why? Because they've got a work ethic.
Yeah, and
unlike you.
They got little fingers for
Yeah,
doing all the stitching. You can't get me. I can't make trainers with my big clunky fingers.
No.
No thumbs.
Exactly. Open the sweatshops, get Britain working.
Also, they fit up chimneys. Actually, that's going to be a problem with the obesity levels in kids now. They're not going to fit up the chimneys.
No.
Yeah, so we need to work on that.
That's exactly what we need to do, and that's why the coming cost of living crisis is so good. We're going to drive down obesity, mate. No one's going to be able to afford to eat. Less food, less fat.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Incentivise people to work as well. Get them out.
So, and obviously having people, coming across the channel, they all need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So it's pushing up house prices, and then so as a worker, as a sort of somebody who's already here, you're suddenly competing against all these people, and you're competing against the richest people for houses because there's a limited supply of housing. You're competing against the richest people for housing. You're competing against the poorest people for wages. So it's an untenable. If we talk about inequality in society, you could rebalance it a bit by just having a more controlled, not stopping immigration. Obviously, immigration is, it contributes a lot to society, and it's great to have people, coming here and stuff. But just a sustainable, moderate. 5 people a year.
5 people a year. Do you know what we had? And I like Carl Benjamin on our show. We interviewed him on Triggernometry like last year. And him and Constantine had this kind of... they were kind of disagreeing on something because Carl wants a complete moratorium on immigration.
Yeah.
And Constantine misheard, or maybe Carl misspoke, one of the two. And Constantine thought he said like he didn't even want tourism in this country. So Constantine was like, really? And he was like, yes. He was like, I don't like even them. He's like, yeah, no tourists ever. But look, I think we just need to be realistic about it and go, look, this country needs immigration. We have a labour deficit, but what we also need is to replenish housing stocks. Which we haven't
and replenish the population. We need to encourage people to have kids if we need. And also, man, people talk about a labour deficit. Some of those jobs don't need to be done. If that job doesn't pay enough for somebody, it's like it's a market. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like I'd like to be able to buy every Ferrari, but I can't because I can't afford some of them. Yeah. So
but you're a right-wing grifter, mate.
That's how fash for cash. That's how. Man, I went fash for less money. If I'd gone woke, I'd still be getting booked in all these clubs and stuff.
And earning 60 quid a pop.
Yeah. But yeah, man, some of these jobs, like the economy exists to support the country. Yeah. The country doesn't exist to support the economy.
Of course.
And politicians always look at a country as an economy, first and foremost. They're not looking at it as, cultural heritage and sustained network and communities and things that need to be sort of nourished and given the resources to sort of sustain themselves and replenish themselves.
Because that's a natural failure of democracy. When a democracy happens in 4-year or 5-year cycles, what you do is you encourage short-termism.
Yeah.
Because quite naturally, the politicians only think in 4 or 5-year cycles. So what you're talking about takes a long time to bed in, to actually come to fruition, to make the society more cohesive as a whole.
Yeah.
Are the politicians going to act against their own self-interest by driving house prices down, which is essentially what will happen when you build more houses?
Yeah.
If you think about the vast majority of people who vote in this country, they are older people.
Yeah.
And what is their
they own property.
Yeah, and that's their biggest asset. For many people, they don't have a pension. All they've really got is their property to essentially pay them through old age, right? And good for them. But you're going to ask them to vote against their own self-interest?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, even though it needs to happen.
It needs to happen, but no politician is going to do it.
Leo wants a house.
Mate, I want a fucking house. And I don't want a house where I'm living right in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere. Because that's what people go. Live outside of London.
Yeah.
I go, where can I buy a house? Like Great Yarmouth. No, mate, I don't want to have a heroin addiction.
Yeah. And that damages the economy. There's a lot of people leaving London because they can't afford to live here. So that's damaging London's economy. So if we had more houses, then, it would help everybody out.
Yeah.
Apart from that sort of imaginary wealth that's tied up in housing. Talking of stop white hate. So this is an example I found of actual quantifiable discrimination against white people. So 1 in 6 hiring managers have been told to stop hiring white men, according to this survey, which I'd have thought would go against whatever race laws. It's got to be against some. But it sounds bad to me. You're discriminating based on skin colour? That's got to be wrong.
Yeah, and look, to me, this is such a ridiculous way of looking at the world. Like with trigonometry, we employ someone who has autism. We employ someone who is actually a trans person. We employ someone who is a person of colour, an Asian guy. And you go like, why have we done that? And it's because what we do is we take blind submissions or people who just want to work with us and send us examples of their work. And we go, you're great. And do you know what? If you do that, you're going to get diversity naturally.
Yeah.
You're going to get it naturally.
Yeah.
Because you just go and seek out the best people.
Yeah. Whereas if you force it, then you're not getting the best people because you're putting those demographic tick boxes in front of the qualities.
Yeah.
It's a nonsense.
And
I noticed when I worked as a consultant, so I was working at a pretty sort of high level consultancy, and like we had an incredibly diverse workforce. We had like Iraqis and all sorts of people from all around the world, and just people who'd been born in the UK but were different ethnicity or heritage or whatever. And the reason was because they needed like the sort of absolute sort of cream. They took I think about 5% of Cambridge and Oxford maths and physics graduates. They wanted the sort of the best, only the sort of best people. I was more of a sort of fuckabout hire, but the people who are doing the proper like serious work, they had to get the best people.
Yeah.
So then you end up, you can't have it some sort of old boys network or just hiring white people because it wouldn't work. And equally, you can't have it where you're sort of trying to tick boxes and get, we need to get, look, Black Lives Matter is popular this month. We need to hire a black woman or whatever. You got to put the actual abilities first.
That's the only way to do it. Like if you look at professional sport, which I would argue is the most meritocratic out of all the industries, like you take
I think professional sport is racist against white people.
Well, the NBA certainly is, mate. Watching white people just get dominated time and time again. Eventually, you go, look, there's a systemic problem here.
Yeah.
And there needs to be reparations.
Yeah.
But if you look at like the England football team, like nobody is in that team because they're like, this is a black person, they need to be uplifted. No, it's because they run quicker.
And here we've got this is somebody, because people have their preferred pronouns.
Yeah.
This is somebody with preferred adjectives.
Yeah. Okay.
I just had a parent ask me my preferred adjectives.
Oh, by the way, it's not just a person, it's a teacher. This is a teacher at school. This the thing on the screen inside the classroom. But man, like, I'm not joking. Like, if I walked in, I was like, who's going to be teaching my kid? Who's going to be filling my kid's brain with ideas when she's at her most, like, vulnerable and programmable?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even need to hear them speak.
Yeah.
They're wearing some sort of like My Little Pony t-shirt, and they got pink hair, and I'm not even sure what gender they are, or if they're transitioning. I'm not sure what from and what to. I just know that I don't want them.
Don't want them there.
That's maybe my bigotry, but I just want a normal, like, I think we can say normal because it's not normal to wear a My Little Pony t-shirt. I'm not being a bigot.
But this is a real problem because I remember like one of the best teachers I ever had was a guy called Mr. Worsley, and this was in the 80s, and he used to turn up with like basically looking like a new romantic. I'm just looking back now, like the highlighted spiky hair, the leather trousers, like, or not leather trousers, quite like tight trousers and a flamboyant shirt. He was a fucking incredible teacher. He gave me a love of history that has kept with me throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
lessons come alive. It's only when I was 23 that I went, oh, he was gay.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter in the slightest because I went into that classroom and he sparked a love of learning.
And he focused on learning and teaching instead.
Yeah.
So this person, you know, as I said, we've got pronouns. This person is now got adjectives.
Yeah.
I just had a parent ask me my preferred adjectives because she wanted to comment on one of my photos, but she wanted to use words that I liked hearing for myself. That's the kind of allyship that I need. A+.
So...
What do you mean, adjectives?
So, like, you know, like fast. Or...
Oh, I know what a fucking adjective is, Leo.
I was like, man, I thought this guy was a teacher.
It's a describing word. Right? Right? But what does that mean? Like, my preferred adjectives?
So you got to, like, I want to be described as, strong or cool.
You don't get to fucking choose that.
You don't get to choose your fucking pronouns either.
No.
They're not for you. They're for other people to describe you. So why would we have to put our minds through this, like trying to, like, you know, rub your tummy and pat your head at the same time? Trying to call somebody who doesn't look like a woman, like, got to call her she, and that's, like, one of the easier ones. They've got, like, all these weird ones, like they and zir and all that sort of they and them. It's like, man, I can't call you they. There's only one of you.
Yeah.
Like, even though it looks like under your skin there could be about 5 people because you're a beast. They're always a beast. Why are they always a beast? What is it with, like, if you're just fucking butt ugly in 2022, you got to have pronouns. And now this fucking adjective bollocks, it just shows that it's an extension of this sort of narcissistic, like, I get to choose my pronouns. So everybody's got to, like, you know, put their head through a fucking mangle when they're trying to talk about me. And now adjectives as well. No, you don't get to choose. It's like, do we get to write our own reviews as comedians?
We should do, mate.
We should.
Yeah.
Well, Darius does. Darius Davies on the Free Speech podcast. He set up his own website. Actually, fuck, I did it as well. So I can. And we crossed. I wrote a review for Darius, and Darius wrote a review for me on these websites. And then we used those 5-star because we got 5 stars because we think that we're very good. And we used that on our posters.
But in many ways, it's a form of narcissism that demanding that the world should see you as you demand to be seen.
Yeah.
Now, I understand if someone's gone through a transition, people like Blair White, for instance, you go, like, well, you've gone the whole 10 yards, Blair, you know what I mean? But I just like the adjectives.
You look at Blair White, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of transgender, a lot of genuine transgender people, you wouldn't know. And, like, they're the ones that are getting harmed by somebody with pink hair and a fucking bumfluff moustache being like, I'm a whatever. And it's like, man, why are you trying to like align yourself with, like, genuine transgender people who just want to live their lives and go about their business, and also, you know, are quite often quite gender critical.
Yeah.
Like, I know a transgender woman who believes that there are 2 genders.
Yeah.
And all this sort of non-binary, they, them, zir is just a load of made-up nonsense.
Yeah.
So, I think, you know, a lot of the time they're bringing the wrong attention to transgender people, and they're not genuine transgender. Man, if you got to tell somebody what your pronouns are, they're not your pronouns. If it's not obvious, they're not your pronouns.
And it's like, you know, when you see, like, gay pride, and then you see, like, people dressed up in, like, gimp masks and people wandering around in gimp suits, you're like, how is this helping gay people? Do you know, if I was a gay man, I'm like, don't do that, mate. That's quite literally feeding ammunition to my enemy.
Yeah.
That's what they think I do in my fucking spare time. And you're wandering around like that at 1 p.m. holding a Pret coffee cup in your left hand and a gimp whip in the other. This isn't me. But because you have these people on the extremes, everybody goes, well, that's what they're like. Look, there's the example. And that's why tolerance, in several studies, tolerance for the LGBT has gone down, because people just see this and they see it as extreme, which it is.
And it's being driven by the Q end of the LGBTQ thing rather than the LGB side of it. Because, man, I think everybody's on board. Like, man, pretty much even Ireland, you know, traditionally quite religious, conservative places, Ireland, even like a lot of Eastern European countries, they're very, in America as well, people are generally pretty supportive of gay marriage and equal rights for gays and all the rest of it. But all this, like, you know, the next step that people come along with is like, oh, well, now we need to, I'm Balenciaga and I need to make child porn adverts, or we need to have drag queens in schools, you know, talking to children. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Why are you trying to associate this with that? You know, this is a separate thing, and you're a fucking nonce. You know what I mean?
The whole thing with sexualizing children and like drag queen now, like there was a story last year about dildo butt monkey. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You just like in a library reading to kids, and you're going, who thought of this?
I'll tell you, the council.
Why don't you just get fucking Spider-Man?
Yeah, kids love Spider-Man.
Just get a superhero. I'm Spider-Man. Kids are stupid. They'll believe that.
Exactly. I mean, kids will probably also like Dildo Monkey Buttman.
Yeah.
I prefer Dildo Monkey Buttman to Spider. I'd love to see Dildo Monkey Buttman taking on some criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
I can just imagine what a special movie is going to be with that. Yeah. But he literally had a bare arse and he had a big dildo hanging down between it, and he was bright purple. You know what I mean? He looked like every primary school teacher you see on Libs of TikTok. Yeah. It was madness. Talking of the trans thing. So this is not trans. This is a drag queen. And there's been some events in America that they've been trying to shut down, and I think stuff like this is why. Look at this.
Yeah.
I mean, like her or whatever the pronouns are. Like the tits are right out. They're covered in money. That's like that's a small child. I think that's wrong. I think we can safely say that's wrong.
Yeah, I have no idea what goes through these people's minds when they think this is acceptable. Yeah. I just genuinely don't. How can you sexualize children and accept that is okay?
Yeah.
Kids holding up like bondage or whatever else.
Man, that Balenciaga ad campaign, that was insane. That was, if you haven't heard about the Balenciaga ad campaign, did we talk about it last time?
No, I can't remember if we did.
Man, so basically it's like Balenciaga is the Spanish fashion house, and they had these adverts, and so it's got little kids, the same sort of age as the kid in that video there, but you're holding teddies with bondage gear, and also on the table, there's all these references to sort of Pizzagate and paedophilia. So they had panda eyes, which is that's a sort of paedophile thing because it's to do with the children being upset. There was also references. There were court documents placed on the table referencing a child sex abuse case. So this was very obvious and very in the open. They've been very open that this is referencing child sexual abuse. It's not like there's nothing can be inferred or anything. It's like they're literally stating it. And then the head designer, I can't remember her name, but she was a total fruitcake. She had somebody went on her Instagram, and there's this Twitter thread that details all of her Instagram posts with her. She was in a relationship with somebody who's been accused of paedophilia twice. You know what I mean? And they were joking about child molestation. There was all these pictures of children crying and all sorts of states of lots of blood and toddlers and stuff like that. Just all dodgy, completely dodgy as fuck. And it's like, man, for Balenciaga, what the fuck? They're and also Balenciaga still got all their banking facilities, still got all that. Man, if somebody comes out and says something vaguely homophobic or anything, or anti-queer or whatever, instantly banking facilities gone, instantly dropped by everybody.
I just again, I don't understand. Do you remember when? You remember this in the early 90s where fashion houses just put out content of really fit women.
Yeah.
Like Cindy Crawford. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? She was there.
Not too skinny. It was before heroin chic.
Yeah.
It was and they weren't fat we got now. It was like that magic point where they were they looked like they could be almost like athletes, but not overly volleyball athletes.
Yeah, that exactly. And then it was all a little
sexy
bit,
athlete.
Yeah. and it was all a little bit sultry, and there was a group of Naomi Campbell was another one, and they were all just supremely hot women.
Yeah.
Right, and then everyone went, we that's an unrealistic version of what a woman should be. Of course, it's meant to be unrealistic.
Yeah, it's aspirational.
That's the fucking
You're
point.
supposed to be unhappy and aspire to looking like that, so you look a little bit better.
Yeah.
You're never going to look like Cindy Crawford, but you can look a bit better.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I like football. Is it, I am shit at football. Do I start moaning because somebody is much better at football than me and gets paid hundreds of thousands of pounds?
Yeah.
Do I sit in a corner and bitch about it because I take off my shirt and I look like I'm about to go for a transition, right? No, I don't. So, what I don't understand. It's just this stuff. What's wrong with just putting beautiful, hot people and using it to market your products? That's all we want.
Yeah, totally.
That's all we want. I don't care if I walk past a billboard and it's like they're happening like a couple of, there's this like handsome black guy who's ripped to shit. Because there's a part of me going, yeah, I could look like him. Obviously, I can't fucking look like him.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah.
Do you remember the meltdown they had with that ad which said, "Are you beach body ready?"
Yeah, and like it was a fit, like she looked good, and then Sadiq Khan was coming in. He banned it from the London Underground.
Yeah,
and like man, like of all the things that Sadiq Khan could get involved in, maybe you could ban like I don't know, knives.
Yeah,
maybe ban knives from London. How about that, Sadiq? Could we have that so people aren't stabbing each other all the time? But yeah, man, that was a real free speech thing. Because also, man, she looked good, and like, what's the problem? She was beach, man, because they try and gaslight us. They say, "Oh no, like this body is beautiful," and it's like, man, I've got eyes. Yeah, I can tell on a deep-rooted biological level.
But my dick is telling me.
Yeah, I can tell that that's a horrific body that belongs in the sea. Like, that is might be graceful underwater, but not sitting on the sand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great for swimming in the Arctic, but but this is the point.
She'll last longer. If that helicopter goes down in the North Sea, she'll last a few minutes longer than me. Yeah. But like, come on, not for.
And this is the point. That body is unhealthy.
Yeah.
It just is. Now we can start, going, like the reason people are obese and blah 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 and all of these things, which. We need to be able to tackle it, and you can make a very strong case for advertising, the food industry, sugar, the fact that we're getting the wrong messages. People don't know what it is to eat healthy. Like, people think that eating vegan food is healthy when it's actually not, because it's very high in carbohydrate. Yeah. All of these things, right? And there's a discussion to be had about all of that. Yeah. But you can't start with a fundamental lie that if you are overweight, that you are healthier. It's like in men. Like, I see, like, I had this moment where I was playing a comedy club, and I looked around. Everyone was fat. Everyone is fat. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the last thing people need to hear is that it's okay and it looks good.
If you are male and you have excess amounts of fat, you produce more estrogen, which affects your mental health because then you become more prone to depression,
and also reduces your sperm count.
Yeah. And it's all of these things, and you're more prone to type 2 diabetes. Once you get type 2 diabetes, then you're really in the shit, because then that means that you've got a whole host of health problems. Yeah. And then we perpetuate this line, so, but big is beautiful. It's fucking not. Maybe to a small portion of the population.
Yeah. Small portions isn't a word, isn't a phrase they like, by the way.
Yeah. And we all know that. We've all been overweight. I'm trying to lose weight at the moment. I've lost a bit of weight. You feel better.
Yeah. And you feel better, like, if you go to the gym and you work out. Yeah. Like, man, you get that blood flowing around your body. You feel so much better. You feel like strong. You feel, you wake up the next day with a boner. It's great. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, instead of like living like we've all gone through phase. Like, we had lockdown where like we went through a big long phase of I'm sure a lot of people just went goblin mode and weren't moving, and you weren't allowed to go to the gym. And there was times during that when it was all right when I was in Australia. I was in Australia for the first bit of lockdown, but so I could go running, could go in the hills and stuff. But then when I was back in the UK, man, it was grim, and I just felt like shit because I couldn't go to the gym, couldn't lift any weights, not that I'm trying to get bigger or anything, but just getting that blood pumping around your body feels good.
Yeah, and you there's more and more evidence that lifting weights, whether it's male or females, is absolutely brilliant for you. You're building muscle, you're fighting osteoporosis. It's great for you physically, mentally.
Yeah.
And you just look at like you walk past like a Guess advert, and it's just got this glorified blob in front of you, and you go, I remember when it was a super hot woman.
Yeah. And it would just brighten your day that little bit.
Exactly.
And now, you walk past an advert like that with Guess on it, and it's like you've got to guess the condition. It's like, is it type 2 diabetes? Is it like...
maybe it's type 2 diabetes. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah, but also this is why I think the male suicide rate is going up as well. Like, not just like the sort of estrogen thing, but all the little, like, as well as being shouting all the time, we don't get those little moments of just like seeing a hot billboard model.
And it's
anymore.
also as well, it's like people are going, why are all young men listening to Andrew Tate? Why are they all watching Andrew Tate? It's like because he's saying things like, he's a cunt. I don't really like a lot of what he says.
Yeah.
But there is stuff that he says like, go to the gym, stop making excuses, have discipline, work hard.
Take responsibility for yourself.
Peterson. And I like Peterson and I like Rogan and I like all those guys. Yeah. And you go, that's because they're sending out not Tate some of it, but a lot of it, no. But the rest of them, they're actually sending out a positive message to men, which is, if you want a girlfriend, if you want your life to be better, if you want to have a life which is what you want it to be, then I'm sorry, mate. The only person who's going to fucking do that is you.
Yeah, totally.
That's it.
You can blame other people. You can try and force them to use the right pronouns. You can like try and change the world around you. Yeah. At the end of the day, the only thing that's going to deliver results is taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, and that's it. And that is, at one point, like, that's a quite unpleasant thing to hear, because you're like, oh shit, like, I've just got to work really fucking hard.
That sounds hard, yeah. I prefer the bit when I could blame other people.
Yeah, because it feels good. And then, you get, but you know that when you get into a circle and comedians with the worst for this and blame, I'm not a reason, I'm not here because of blah, 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 blah. It feels good in the moment, but afterwards you just feel like shit.
Yeah.
You feel terrible.
Yeah.
And that's what we have as a society. It's almost like it's designed to make us miserable.
Yeah.
It's designed to make us miserable. It's designed for us to feel depressed.
Yeah.
We're filled shit food. We're projected with images of like people who are grossly obese.
Yeah.
The people that we used to admire, were people who were strong, who overcame things. Now it's like, I'm sad. You should be sad too.
Why don't you open up about your mental health problems?
Yeah.
How about I shut up about my mental health problems and go and lift some weights?
Yeah.
Take some steroids.
Yeah.
Do some cocaine.
Yeah. Or you open up to your mental health problems. Why don't you just go and get fucking therapy?
Yeah.
Just go and talk to someone.
Yeah, it's somebody who's getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about it myself unless I'm getting like £125 an hour.
Someone who's actually this is the thing that pisses me off. Like, you go like, they go, we need to talk more, and in a way we do. But unless that talking is being done for like cognitive behavioural therapy, where you're actually putting in things within your life to improve, and you're improving your mindset and your mentality, all you're doing is just going around in a glorified fucking circle.
Yeah. And also people misunderstand how men sort of speak to each other, because they think men, and it's sort of like a trope in comedy that like women all support each other and are really, oh, you look great, blah, blah, blah. Whereas men just like bring each other down. Yeah. But that's how we sort of bring each other up, if you know what I mean. There's that, we're constantly taking the piss out of each other. But it's to show that we're strong enough to do it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or something. I don't know what it is, but it's funny.
Yeah. But it's also as well, like, because as a man, you've got to strive and you've got to achieve and you've got to, and you've got to want to get better. Like, every day, you've got to want to get better. Yeah. And that's why, like, people love professional sport. Yeah. Because they look at these like athletes, many of them have come from the worst and toughest and poorest backgrounds. Yeah. But because they work hard, they've got insane ability and their mindset's incredible, they get to where they want to be. And you're like, well, if I use some of that kind of mentality and put it in my own life, then maybe I'll be able to achieve what I want to achieve.
Right, I never thought of sports like that. I always just thought sport was boring. But yeah, that is like, people see that. It's the sort of aspirational side of it.
Of course, you look at all these guys, like if you look at someone like Beckham, like whatever you think of Beckham, his mindset is incredible. He was hated by the entire country.
He's an intellectual heavyweight. He is probably the greatest thinker of his generation.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he was hated by the entire country because he got sent off at a very important match. Yeah. Like, people were putting up effigies of him. Yeah. saying like all tabloid papers were like saying like, you know, you're the worst. People were singing at stadiums, I hope your child dies of cancer.
Jesus Christ.
You know, and you know, there was I think it was a Daily Mirror put a dartboard up with his face on it where you could stick his face and literally throw darts.
Yeah, yeah.
And then he went on to then become England captain, become one of our most beloved footballers. Now he's working for Dubai, so we fucking hate him again.
Qatar, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, Qatar, same thing, right? But, you know, you just go like, that's someone to go, oh.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had that mentality and pushed past all the shit in my life, I could achieve what I wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. David Beckham. Let's all aspire to be David Beckham. Okay, that's the positivity. That's the positivity out of the way. That's it for this. We've got more in the Patreon only segment of the podcast where we say what we really think, and we're going to be covering more drag queen craziness. There's also euthanasia in Canada, which is insane. They're actually referring homeless people and poor people and disabled people for euthanasia. So they've got this huge euthanasia system. The government's literally killing people. There's a disabled woman who complained that the local authority was taking too long to install a stair lift in her home. Yeah. So they suggested euthanasia to her. And see, this is one of the ways the private sector is better than the public sector, because the private sector, if you've got a customer complaints department, one of their dispute resolution things isn't, we're going to kill you. You know what I mean? You're never going to get that phoning up Sony or whatever to complain about some. So so we've got that. We've also got videos of makeup transformations with old women becoming incredibly young and sort of hot looking, and that's in the Patreon only special. So there's a link down there to my Patreon. Sign up. You can sign up for as little as £3 a month. You get all sorts of special content and early access to stuff, and also come and see me and Francis in Leicester and Stafford performing live on December the 20th and 21st. Going to be great shows.
Come there. I don't even know where fucking Stafford is.
It's over. It's quite a long way away. It's over by near Wales.
Is it really? Why the fuck have I done a show there? You better come because it's in Wales.
Yeah, you gotta make it worth their while. It's not quite. It's over it's the sort of the Black Country, I think.
Fuck.
Which reminds me of my mate Masai. He's got this amazing joke. Yeah. So he's black and he's from the Midlands, and he says he was talking to somebody, and they thought the Black Country was a real tree. Or he said he's from the Black Country and they thought it was a real tree. Anyway, it's funny when he says it. Yeah. Great guy, Masai Graham, if you want to look him up. But before you sign up to my Patreon and see the second half of this. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.
Fucking Stafford.
Bye.